welcome to Talks at Google. It is great to see everybody here today. I'm Gina Moore in Grande. I'm a program manager for external engagement on the Cloud CISO Security Engineering team. And I'm here with Chef Alfredo Garcia.
Hello.
We are so excited to have you
I'm excited to be
in our
here.
kitchen.
Thanks for having
oh my
me.
Goodness.
It's a beautiful kitchen.
It's a beautiful kitchen.
Yeah.
Thank you for making a stop in our beautiful kitchen in Seattle.
Thank you.
Before we kick this off for real, I'll just remind you that we're going to have some time for Q&A at the end. It can go in any direction, but we'll have a little chat at the start here, and then we'll get to the real reason people are here, which is to see the master in action. And the food.
Yeah.
Chef Alfredo Garcia was born in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas and raised in Chicago.
Yes.
He's been a full-time content creator since 2021. Before that, he was a private chef for multiple MLB players. That's Major League Baseball for our Googlers around the world. And his love of cooking was particularly inspired by the strong women in his life, who we will hear more about, I hope. He loved to watch his mother, his grandmother, and his aunts make chilaquiles, which is his favorite breakfast meal, and every kind of salsa you can imagine. So thank you.
Spicy ones.
So much spicy ones.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for
No,
Talks
I'm excited.
with People.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, tell us first of all why chilaquiles is your favorite breakfast food.
It's my favorite because you can have it a million different ways, like back to back to back. Like you don't always have to have it the same way. You can have it with like salsa verde or salsa roja, or like you can have them with mole. It's just like a different experience every time you're eating them, so that's why I love them.
Nice.
It's just delicious.
And what does it look like on a plate for those of us who don't know it?
It's just crispy tortilla chips, and then you simmer them in whatever type of salsa you're using, and then that's pretty much like the standard way of having it. You can serve them with some refried beans, a fried egg on top with a runny yolk, some crema, queso fresco, pickled red onions. You can add any type of protein you want to them. It's just like
any way you want to go.
Like whatever you're craving, just add it in there, and it's delicious.
God. And like yummy, goopy goodness.
Yeah, it's like they're crunchy, but then they start getting a little soggy. Like the more you get in there, it's just like best of both worlds.
That is awesome. That sounds delicious. So you grew up in a home where cooking was like a strong vibe.
Yeah, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so every time when we get home from school, she was always cooking for us. She would be cooking, I would be watching Food Network. So it's like I was always surrounded by food. We would only go out to eat on like special occasions and stuff like that, or on weekends. So it's like always eating at home.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, like you can do this too, homey vibe in your cookbook. Which
yeah, totally. Because I'm not a professionally trained chef, so all of my cooking is very home cooking inspired. Like it's not really hard things. It's just things that I've learned myself, like either from watching my mom, watching Food Network, or watching YouTube videos and stuff like that. So it's all self-taught pretty much.
You even make mole sound easy in the cookbook, which we'll get back to. I was like, maybe it can be done.
It is easy.
So, okay, tell me about the first job you had as a chef.
First job as a chef, it was maybe like a very short-lived, but I worked in a food truck on campus in college for a couple of days. Like I don't even think it was two full weeks, but it was fun and I liked it. And like, I liked the rush of like, okay, like this order just came in, we have to prepare it. So that was my first time ever like working in any type of food atmosphere, and I loved it.
That's awesome. And then if we fast forward, you got your first job with an MLB player, Jamie Garcia.
Yes.
And sounds like you were, from the book, sounds like you were like a little nervous at the beginning. You had to turn to the YouTube for some help.
It was fun. I had never like cooked for someone that like is a Major League Baseball player. Luckily, a lot of the food that he wanted was super simple, like lots of proteins, veggies, and like some type of starch. But his baseball agent was coming for dinner, so he obviously wanted like a fancier dinner. And we went to Whole Foods. We got like everything, and then he also got lobster tails. I'm like, I've never cooked a lobster tail. So there I was like on YouTube, like looking up how to cook a lobster tail. And luckily, almost all of them came out right. One of them was still a little raw, but it's fine.
That's right. That was the test one in the kitchen.
We're all still alive. So.
Here we are.
Yep.
That is awesome. So then you worked a bunch of different jobs while you were also cooking. You were a door-to-door salesman in
Yes.
Chicago. You worked in a
Yeah.
construction company.
Mhm.
You like kept a commitment to cooking alongside like having to be an adult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic hit, and it was this weird moment of opportunity for you.
Yeah, it was when COVID hit, I was like most people working from home. So I was cooking more than usual. And at first, I should have started recording everything right when it started. But at first, I was just taking pictures of the food and posting it on Instagram stories. And then randomly, I also refused to download TikTok. I just wasn't a fan of the app at first. And then I just started, and like I didn't take it serious at first. I was just doing it for fun. And then when I got my first partnership, almost a year into it, I was like, okay, I can actually make money doing this. And that's when I started taking it serious, posting cooking videos twice a day, and it just like slowly took off from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about the Cardi B moment.
The Cardi B moment.
Yeah, that's what we're cooking, right?
Yeah, that's what we're making today. It's the avocado dip. It was a sleeper hit at first. I posted the video, and then the Cardi B moment didn't happen until like a month and a half, 2 months later, where I was having game night with my cousins, and we were just finishing up our food, about to start playing the game, and I started getting all these like spammed with like Cardi B fan page accounts because they were all reposting the video, and at first I thought it was spam just because it was like tons and tons of notifications until one of my aunts texted me. She's like, hey, Cardi B just like made your recipe, like it's on TikTok. And yeah, ever since then, it's like people still make it every day to this point. I get tagged on it every day. People go viral just making the dip because of Cardi B. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So it's like this whole like network of
Mm-hmm.
Cardi B watchers and recipe
Yeah.
makers. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also noticing a theme here. First, you thought the Cardi B fans were spam, and then you were telling me this story about a White House invitation you thought was a phishing scam.
Yeah.
So unpack that for us.
So this was maybe almost 2 years ago. I got a random email from the White House to go to an event for the Flamin' Hot movie, and the email was kind of scammy. The link makes you like to RSVP. You have to put in like basically your entire life's information, including your social security number. So I thought it was a spam, and like luckily I knew someone that I had previously gone to the White House, so I asked them and they confirmed that it was legit. So that's when I went to the White House.
You are indeed invited to the White House.
Yeah, she said, congratulations, you've been invited to the White House. So that was fun. It was fun.
So these are the twists and turns
Mhm.
of becoming like a viral sensation. Is
Yeah.
just, navigating. Is it
Scams
real?
in
Is
the
it not?
world.
Is it real?
Mm-hmm.
So now that you have this beautiful cookbook, which I don't know if anybody's seen it yet. Here's the beautiful cookbook. Does it really feel real? You can like touch it and stuff.
Yeah, for the longest, when I knew the book was happening, it didn't feel real because like you're working on the book for like 2 years and you don't have a physical book until like 2 years after. So it was hard to believe at first, but even now, sometimes I'm like, I walk into a store, I'm like, oh, like that's my book in Barnes and Noble, or like it's crazy,
But
it's a real thing now.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's
Yeah.
talk more about the book because
Yes.
there's so many luscious,
Yes.
lovely things in here. So the first thing I will tell my friends here about this book is that this is like made for Googlers. He's put food in a matrix, y'all. There's like 5 or 6
Yeah.
food matrices in here.
Those
Tell us about that design idea. I'm gonna find one while you talk.
So the design idea, I didn't know how it was gonna look visually in the book, but that's one of my favorite things about cooking, where it's like you can make one big batch of things. Like this is birria, and like the previous page is like the actual recipe for the birria, and it's like one of those things that's like not necessarily hard to make, but it's so easy to make in big batches, and you can easily freeze it for a later use. So it's like you make a big batch of birria and you can make all of these other things like pizza, chilaquiles, grilled cheese with that one base recipe.
Oh,
So
yum. They all look delicious.
Those days were rough when we were photographing the book because it was like extra food we had to make, but
Oh, yeah, that would be a busy day.
everyone loved it. Like
I bet.
it's different.
That is not a bad day to be on your crew, though.
Oh no,
Like...
we had plenty of food to go.
The other thing I love about
Mhm.
the food matrix idea in here is they all have these instructions about how they're meant to be quick and dirty. No
Yeah,
measurements.
No measurements.
Tell us more.
I feel like if you cook at home, like most of the times you don't measure anything. So it's just like, just add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like it doesn't need to be exact to be perfect. It's just like if you like something spicier, use more salsa. If you don't like it spicier, use less. If you don't like lime, don't add the lime. If you don't like cilantro, don't add cilantro. So it's just like easy ways to like kind of like a little roadmap of like everything I use. But if you don't like one thing, just leave it out and it'll still work.
Leave it out. That's the other thing I love about the book is there's just like so much freedom in it.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not familiar with the cuisine, like being issued that permission at the beginning of the book is so exciting. You can just dive in and be like, no, thank you, jalapeno. And that's
exactly.
That's okay.
If you don't like it spicy, just leave some of it out or leave it all out.
Or there's like these moments of genius I can just imagine in your brain where you're like, would you like a cheeseburger in your flauta? Sure. Yeah. Here's a recipe, right? What's the chorizo poutine? Yeah. What a good idea.
It's delicious.
Oh my God, I want to eat it so much.
Delicious and different, but it's like the Mexican flavors I grew up with like dishes that I discovered later on as an adult that I didn't grow up having.
Yeah. And there's a lot of those in here. It feels like a Mexican comfort food mashup kind of situation.
It's like not necessarily Tex-Mex, because when I tell people like Mexican-American cooking, everyone says, oh, so Tex-Mex, like enchiladas and stuff like that. But it's like my own fusion of like Mexican flavors with American foods combined together.
Who doesn't want to eat that?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us like 3 or 5 like key flavors or ingredients.
Key flavors
in like
or
Mexican cooking from your perspective. Like
from
what are the
my
things you love to cook with, or
1000% lime, fresh lime juice. Fresh squeeze of lime on anything like changes it. I think we use a lot of cream cheese. A lot of people you can add it to your sauces, obviously make it into this dip. And another one, I think just like any good salsa. We always have that in the fridge. And I explained it in the book. If you add a little splash of white vinegar to it, it'll like expand the lifespan of it. So like you can keep it in your fridge for up to 3 to 4 weeks sometimes. And
it goes
you'll
from
have
like days to
fresh
weeks.
Homemade salsa for whenever you need it.
Oh my gosh. For whenever you want to impress people.
Yeah.
Make new friends.
Yeah, totally.
There's also, I loved seeing your use of chamoy in the book.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I had to go to the Google and be like, what is chamoy? So tell us about this luscious, lovely.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to explain sometimes because it's like not a spicy sauce. It's like but it's slightly spicy, but it's more sweet than spicy. It's like sweet, spicy, tangy, sour. And most of the times in like Mexican cooking, traditionally it's usually you just squirt it over fresh fruit, and that's how you eat it. More recently, you use it to rim your drinks with like the chamoy and then some tajin on there, and then you add the drink in there. And funny enough, it was like the one recipe in here, the mango chamoy wings, was the very first recipe I developed for the book. Like as soon as I signed the contract the next day, that's the recipe I made. Cool. Just because I love buffalo wings, and one of the big flavors that everyone loves is the mango habanero one. So it's like sweet and spicy. So I kind of wanted to take that inspiration, but using a Mexican flavor with the chamoy. Nice. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you get that same consistency of like the traditional American one with like the Mexican flavors of like the sweet, sticky, spicy sauce.
That's awesome. When you get an idea like that and then you execute it and you taste it, and it's perfect, like what does that feel like?
It's just like crazy because like that's what cooking is. You're just like adding a bunch of random things together and hoping it works. And when it works, it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. You just have to go back to the drawing board. But I love it. That's why I love cooking, because you're just like always experimenting.
Everything is like open. Everything's an option.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There's also these lovely little love letters in your book, which I delighted in. And there's one to elotes.
Yeah.
Tell us why it's worthy of a love letter.
I think because growing up in Chicago, there's eloteros, where it's like an elote man just like walking around in a cart, usually has a bike attached to it. And he's just like riding around with it, like honking a horn. And we would have them all the time, and like all of them made them slightly different. And over the years, we discovered the best one, and like he still rides by our house. And every time I'm back home, I'm like begging for him to like stop by so I can have another one. But it's just like the combination of like the sweet corn, like the mayo, the cheese, the cotija cheese, like the lime, the spiciness to it. I just love it. Like I loved it before it was a thing, and like everyone does elote everything, and there's a lot of elote inspired recipes in the book, and that's why it deserved its own little love letter.
Oh, it was beautiful. And there's different ways to do it, right? You can have it in a cup, or you have it on the cob.
In a cup, on the cob. I like both. The cob on the cob is like a little more traditional, but it's also much messier. But fun. I love it all the time. Like sometimes I'll do it like for dinner. Like that's like a big cup of it or a bowl. I'll make it at home, and that's my dinner.
With your hot Cheetos.
Sometimes, yeah. if I'm feeling guilty and I need that extra pleasure in there, yeah.
That is awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounded delicious. And there's an elote focaccia recipe in here, which just like delights. That's
probably like one of like the more technical recipes in the book, and like slightly more advanced, but it's super easy if you like follow the instructions. But yeah, it was like at this point there could be a whole book on elote recipes. Just I still have so many that I didn't do that I'm like, if there's a second book, like there's going to be a dedicated chapter just to elote recipes.
That is a great idea.
So, yeah.
Oh, sign me up.
Totally.
So, it's a beautiful book. I'm sure your family is proud of it. You've got all these lovely family photos at the beginning, which, by the way, my daughter looked at like they are her family. She was very excited about them.
Many people have said that. One of my friends, he sent me a picture of his 3-year-old son just like laying on the floor, like looking at the book and the pictures and everything.
Totally into it. It's so visually engaging.
Thank you.
Did your mom or your grandma or any of the aunts you grew up eating their delicious food flip through this book and go, where's my recipe for? Like what were they? What they give you a little bit of grief about?
Not really. They just like they've all been super happy for it. And like, none of them have really fought over the recipes. At least not that I know of.
They're keeping it away from you.
Yeah, probably. They probably have a separate group chat.
That's awesome. And there's just so many delightful like twists and turns of stories about the women who were important to you growing up and the food that you ate. So those are really lovely to read.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, should we hop to it and like see the magic at work?
This is like the easiest recipe, more than likely the easiest recipe in the book. It's the avocado jalapeno dip, or as people know it, the Cardi dip. But we have a food processor here, and everything pretty much just gets dumped in here. This is like, I knew I would have this moment when, like, how do you, okay, there we go. Okay, so.
You can decode anything.
Yes. So this is some cream cheese. We add this, everything gets added to the food processor. You can make it in a blender. The consistency of it completely changes, where it gets it's more of a saucier, runny situation. Okay. With the food processor, you get it a little chunkier and like a thicker consistency for like dipping.
Okay.
So that's why I prefer it on here. Most people make it in a blender. Okay. But so we have the cream cheese, we have some avocados. We'll do 2 of them.
Nice.
Chef
Jenny was saying it's always avocado roulette. You never know.
You never know how it's gonna open up. So let's see. This is a perfect one. Yeah.
That's perfect.
So.
Did you see that magic trick for getting the pit out?
Yeah. And because it's gonna get blended up, like I just like squeeze it out of the avocado.
Oh,
like
easy peasy.
Or you can use a spoon, but this is how I like to do it. I've always done it like this. It's less cleanup on your end.
Good. Yeah.
So
good call.
We do 2 avocados. We cut them in half. This one, it literally cut right through the pit.
Whoa. That is quite the knife.
So this one I will
Or the avocado, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That has never happened to me.
It's also a tiny pit.
It is a tiny pit.
Huh.
So
more
we
fleshy
have the
goodness.
avocado in there. Let's use this as our trash bowl.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So we have the avocado.
Already it seems so yummy.
Next, it's all the other ingredients. So we have pickled jalapenos. This is obviously like the main component for like the spiciness of it. Pickled jalapenos, they're a little less spicy than a fresh jalapeno, but it's still spicy. Usually,
does the pickliness come through?
A little bit, because we add some of the juice that's in the can. So most cans of pickled jalapenos that you buy will have some carrots in there that have been pickled in there. I like to add it all in there.
Nice.
So we add the carrots that come in there, the jalapenos, and then some of the pickling juice from that can.
Nice.
So that's that. And then cream cheese is already in there. We have, here's the spatula. This is sour cream or Mexican crema. Either or will work. It's pretty much the same thing, just Mexican crema is a little more on the runnier side. Okay. Sour cream is a little thicker.
Okay.
So put this in here.
There's so many like textures you can play with when you do this.
Totally. And
really
a lot of people use it for more than just dipping into chips. Like some people say they use it as a spread for sandwiches or burgers.
Oh, whoa.
Which is a genius move. I've dipped slices of pizza into it and it's delicious. So
I would like to do that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do next.
It's pretty great. This here is some chicken bouillon.
Okay.
It's very popular in Mexican households and Mexican cooking. We'll pretty much use this as the salt.
Okay.
So because the chicken bouillon, technically it's not vegetarian. If you don't want to use this, you can just use salt.
Okay.
But
would you sub vegetable bouillon or just go straight for the salt?
You can.
Yeah.
You can use a veggie bouillon, but this just gives it like that little extra salty kick to it. Like, and it has a little MSG, which also like helps like make it a little more addicting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to use the chicken bouillon, you can use salt or a veggie bouillon.
Awesome.
We add this in there, and then the last couple of things. Oh, the cilantro. I love cilantro.
Tell us how to work with cilantro.
So the cool thing is in the book, there's a couple of QR codes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is for cilantro because when you go to the grocery store, you'll either get a bunch of cilantro that's like this size or you'll get a bunch of cilantro that's like double the size.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like explaining to you, like, depending on what size you get, whatever's written in the book. If you get a huge one and the book says use a whole bunch, just use half of it. Or if you like cilantro a lot, like I do, just use the whole thing. And I also like to use most of the stems. Mm-hmm. I'll usually just cut off like the very bottom tip of the stems. But the stems have a lot of flavor. And I love the cilantro.
So we don't have to like pick off every leaf before we. Okay.
No, you can use the stems.
So many lost hours in my life.
Yeah. No, don't do that. don't waste time. The last three things that we're gonna add in here is some black pepper, just because of the avocado. You need to balance it all out. Some garlic powder. You can also use fresh garlic, but then because it's raw, it'll be a little too strong. So I just stick with the garlic powder. Awesome. And lastly, because I added to almost everything, some fresh squeezed lime juice.
Haha, there's the lime.
You can skip it because there's already the vinegar from the pickled jalapenos, but I like to add it. And that's pretty much it. Now we just close it up and we give it a whirl. So
we use machine magic.
Let's see if I can work this.
Yeah.
There we go.
1, 2, and 3.
Some of the cilantro got stuck up there. Here. We're almost there.
Oh, the colors are beautiful.
The
carrots actually look so pretty in there.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about it. Like,
yeah.
Some people ask if they can leave the carrots out. I'm like, you can, but like it makes you feel a little healthier for eating carrots with this dip.
That's true.
So that's pretty much it.
Looks more like a party.
Yeah. So
this is wow.
Let's get this over here. Right. And then that's the dip.
It's
yum. Like perfect.
Yes. Oh, the texture is fabulous.
So I prefer it this way because it's just a little chunkier.
Yeah.
And there's a little piece of cream cheese.
You want to get that
there,
body on your chip.
Yeah. Because if not, it's just like more of a sauce and not a dip.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But
that could work for some things.
That's
now that I see it, I can understand why people like want to spread it on a burger. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that on. Oh, I just got an idea for putting this on a BLT. That would be perfect. I've never tried that, but now I need to try it.
Yum.
But that's the viral avocado jalapeno dip.
In the literal avocado flesh.
Taste
test.
It's
beautiful. Oh yeah.
You need to taste it.
I gotta taste My daughter would say, "You gotta taste it, Mom. You gotta taste it." Oh my God. That is so good.
Is it spicy?
Cardi B was not wrong.
No.
It's got like kick, but not like spice. You know what I mean? Like,
I get people, it's all over the place.
So good.
Either people say it's not spicy enough or people say it's too spicy for them.
oh, really? That hit me
So,
just right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the lime, you're right. Like
It
it
keeps
kick
you
up.
going back for more.
Yeah, it keeps you going back
Mhm.
and more and more. Much like your TikTok channel.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, thank you. That
No,
was
thank you.
amazing and delicious.
Yeah.
And here again is our beautiful book. Do any of you Googlers who are here with us today have questions you want to ask Chef Alfredo?
Anyone?
Okay, so I'm not sure how it was in your household, but at least in mine, there's a lot of products that my family would use that are like prepackaged, just
Mhm.
like I throw this seasoning into anything to make
Yeah.
it taste good. Now that you're a chef, and like for example, Goya sazon or like the chicken bouillon,
Uh-huh.
how much of that stuff do you use in your cooking now that you're like an actual chef?
It really just depends on the recipe. Because I like cook more and like I experiment a little more now. I don't use the chicken bouillon as much as I did a couple years ago, just because I try to mostly just use salt for newer recipes, and then after trying that recipe with just salt, then maybe a second or a third time I'll do it with chicken bouillon and see what the difference is. So I try to keep it simple first, and then when I keep on experiment, I'll like do the different things that my mom would use growing up.
Actually, that question reminds me of one of my favorite parts of the book where you share your mole recipe.
Yeah.
And how much you used to hate mole.
Yeah, because everyone uses the jarred stuff from the store, and it's super bitter, and I don't like it. I thought I didn't like it, and when I still have mole, I have to ask, like, did you make it with this? And if they say yes, I don't order it, because no
Oh.
matter how much you add to it, it still has that taste from the jarred thing that I don't like.
Jar taste.
Yeah, so like it looks like a hard recipe because there's so many ingredients, but if you separate everything out like we had it for the dip,
Yeah.
and then you start cooking, it's like super easy to make it.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I learned from Chef Jenny that's mise en place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I don't
it
like to
makes
say
such a
the word because I
difference.
feel like I say it wrong or different every time, and I don't want to get in trouble for it. But
I was looking
Yeah.
to you to make sure I said it right.
you did say it right. You did
Okay,
say it
all right.
right.
Phew,
Yeah.
We did it.
Uh-huh.
But so what inspired you to try making a mole if you disliked it so much?
When I first made it, or I think when I first had mole that I actually liked, that was fully homemade from scratch, not using any store-bought products. And obviously because of TikTok and like everyone kept on asking me for a mole recipe, and I never made it because I didn't know how to make it. My mom always made it with the jarred stuff that I didn't like. Whenever she made it, I wouldn't eat it. So I did a bunch of research, and I saw that like everyone makes mole different. There's like 30, 40 different ingredients in everyone's mole. Like someone will use this, but they won't use that. Someone will use that and they won't use another thing. So it's just like you can pretty much just customize it to whatever you prefer.
Nice.
Mhm.
So that's what you did.
Yeah.
And then you shared it with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also in a matrix. So
Yeah.
there's like other ways to
I
use
love
mole.
chilaquiles.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
I want
It's
that.
like sweet, spicy with like because mole is like a chocolate-based sauce, which is crazy, but it's delicious, and like with like pickled red onions and like a runny yolk on top. It's
Ooh,
delicious.
yummy. You put it on pizza in here, didn't you?
Yeah, I use it as a sauce.
So genius. It doesn't have to just be with the chicken.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Yeah, so when developing new recipes for like a cookbook,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a specific thing that you're aiming for, or is it like an inspiration, or how do you
I think most of my inspiration comes from like traveling and trying new foods. So usually if I go to a restaurant and I like something, I'm like, I can make that, but kind of different, or like make it slightly easier. So I just try to make things that because I live alone, so I know whatever I make, someone else is gonna eat it because I can't eat it all myself. So I make it with like that in mind of like who I'm gonna text to come over and eat or take the food. So it's just like developing recipes around things that I've had that I've never made before and hoping it works out. Yes.
What are some of your favorite dishes to make? And are the recipes in the book?
Favorite dishes to make. I love breakfast. So like there's a whole chapter for breakfast in there. I will have breakfast for dinner almost 4 times a week just because it's easy and like the egg gives you that protein that you need and it's like a very quick thing to make. So it's a lot of breakfast or like quick, like maybe not like a full dinner, but it's kind of like an appetizer, but like I'll have that as a dinner. So yeah, it's like a lot of easier things because after cooking, like I just like don't want to spend more time in the kitchen.
How much does Chicago and Chicago-ness and Chicago's Mexican community and the food that's eaten there inform the book?
There's a lot, not a lot of Chicago inspiration, but like al pastor is one of my favorite meats for tacos. One of my favorite restaurants for tacos al pastor is in Chicago, like right in my backyard.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of tried to like make mine as close to theirs as possible. Obviously, Chicago, you have like Italian beefs and hot giardiniera. So like that's like a spicy, pickledy, vinegary sauce condiment type thing. The elotes over there, a lot of the elotes, they have like the fake parquet butter on there. So like
it does get a call out.
yeah. So it's like those little things that like keep me going back to Chicago and like remind me of Chicago when I'm not in Chicago.
Oh, nice. So if you're like homesick for Chicago, you're like, it's parquet butter day.
Yeah, or giardiniera on something.
Awesome. Any other questions? Chef?
What do you think is the biggest misconception about Mexican cuisine that you encounter?
I think in the States is that a lot of people say that if you're going to a Mexican restaurant, they assume it's Tex-Mex. And it's not necessarily true. That's more of a Texas thing. But a lot of people usually say, like, if you're eating Mexican food here, like, oh, you're having Tex-Mex. But there's a lot of traditional, like, good Mexican restaurants in the States that it's completely different. And, like, with my cooking, a lot of people, like, because it's a lot of, like, that mix and mashup of, like, Mexican-American flavors where when I explain it to people, a lot of the times they say, oh, so it's Tex-Mex, but it's not really. It's like the book has a chilaquiles burger, which is like a burger is like the most American thing you can get. But if you top it with chilaquiles, it's like Mexican-American. The cheeseburger flautas that you mentioned. There's a Mexican chicken parmesan, which is like chicken parm is like kind of like a more Italian-American thing, but then making the sauce with the Mexican flavors. So it's just like a lot of people associate Mexican cooking in the States with Tex-Mex, and it's not true.
Yeah, you also did a baked spaghetti in here that like
it's like a lot of people call it like Mexican spaghetti because it's the way our Mexican's mom made it growing up. But then I top it with like the cheese and the chorizo on top to give it that like chori queso vibe, like the melty cheese. So it's adding all of those like Mexican things that I love to like American things.
That changes how I'm gonna approach my fridge.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can put them
like
together.
Now I need this, and I can put that together.
Yeah, what will it do?
Yeah.
Chef Alfredo said it's okay.
Totally.
Awesome. Any other questions we missed? Oh yeah, one more.
What's the most difficult dish you've tried making?
Difficult dish I've tried making. I think it's whenever I'm making bread. Because, like, I love, like, I've tried making sourdough for a while. I can never get it right. So, like, when I made focaccia for the first time, it was from someone else's cookbook. I was like, this is super easy. But people think it's complicated because of the bread and the yeast and letting it rise and rest and all of that stuff. So, like, I think that was one of the harder ones to make. Just because you do have to be a little more precise and you can't just, like, add a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You actually need to like measure it out. But I think that would be like some of the more difficult ones.
What would you tell somebody who's excited to cook something, whether it's a recipe from
Mm-hmm.
your book or one they find somewhere else, but it just like looks complicated?
Yeah.
And like, I can't cook. Do I have this in me? Like, how do you get ready to approach it?
I think for most people, like following a recipe does seem like a chore and like it's hard to do. But that's kind of what I've been saying about like cookbooks and how I approach cookbooks. It's if I see a recipe for something that I've maybe made in the past, but then I see this person has that same recipe, it's slightly different or different ingredients or different flavors. Just kind of like if you've made it before, but that person uses one different ingredient, just do it the way you make it, but then add that ingredient that they do. So it's like use it as a roadmap.
Okay.
So it's like if you don't have all the ingredients and you have everything but one, but it's like a minor thing, make it without it and it'll still be fine. Next time, make it with it.
Cool.
So it's like look at all the ingredients and just like I don't want to say figure it out, but it's like you can easily adjust to what you have in your kitchen without having to like, oh, I have everything but one thing. I need to go to the store to buy it. Just like work around it. Usually there's a substitute or you can leave it out and it'll still work out fine.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So like, here's some good ideas, but you don't have to use them all.
Yeah.
Go ahead, see what
Mhm.
happens.
Exactly. It's just a roadmap.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Anybody else? No? Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you behind the camera.
So I feel like traditionally Mexican food can get very spicy. Obviously, you're making a cookbook for a lot of different people. How do you take that into consideration when you're?
There's actually a little note in the introduction where it's like, I like spicy food. I grew up with spicy food. But if you don't like spicy food, there's like different ways you can make it less spicy. So like if I'm using jalapenos, I never take the seeds out. But if you don't like it to be too spicy, you can cut it in half and take out the seeds. Or if the recipe calls for 2, only use 1. So there's like little easy things you can do to like adjust the recipe to like your spice level. Mm-hmm.
And that also goes for spices that aren't heat, right?
Yeah.
Like anything.
Yeah, like if
Go.
you don't love garlic, don't use the garlic powder. If you don't like onion, don't use onion powder.
If you cannot eat enough Mexican oregano, just put it in everything.
Leave it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
or add more.
I put it in everything. Yeah.
If you don't like cilantro as much as I do, just use very little of it. So
Or none
it's
at
just
all.
use more of what you like and less of what you don't like.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Everything becomes your own signature dish.
Exactly.
I love it. I think we got a chance to get all the questions from the
I think
room, which
everyone
is
wants
good.
to try dip now.
I know I was going to say, I was like, this is now standing between people and the chance
Yeah.
to taste why Cardi B was so excited. Thank you all for coming
Thank you.
today. Thank you for watching along for our talks at Google with Chef Alfredo Garcia. And enjoy the book. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It was great to have you.
It was fun.
So yummy.
Yeah.
So yummy.